This video is designed to review with you the basics of the market for loanable funds. Loanable funds are essentially monies that one group of people makes available for another group of people to borrow. At its core, the market for loanable funds is a supply and demand graph, just like the supply and demand graphs we did in Unit 2. The only difference is, in the market for loanable funds, instead of supplying and demanding a product like oranges or Packer tickets, here we are supplying and demanding money. Let's take a closer look at the two participants in the market for loanable funds. The first are suppliers of loanable funds. These are savers. Notice the supply of loanable funds is upward sloping. This means there is a direct relationship between the real interest rate and the quantity of loanable funds supplied. Savers are paid the real interest rate, and therefore at higher rates of real interest, they have an incentive to save more. At lower rates of real interest, they have less of an incentive to save. There are three main savers in the market for loanable funds. The first is you and I. Under normal circumstances, we do not spend 100% of our disposable income, meaning after consumption, there's always some money left over. You and I take this money and put it in our savings accounts, our checking accounts, certificates of deposit, government savings bonds, or corporate bonds, thereby making it available for someone else to borrow. The second group of savers are foreign investors, who, like us, have money left over after paying for consumption. Foreign savers are particularly attracted to United States Treasury securities. The final saver is theoretical only, and that's the U.S. government. If our government, and that's a big if, ran a budget surplus, meaning they collected more money than they spent, they would have money left over, which they would save and make available for someone else to borrow. However, it's important to note, not only does our government not generate a surplus, they are nowhere near close to even balancing the budget. So most questions dealing with savers focus on you and I, American citizens, or foreign savers/investors who have extra money which they seek to bring to America and save here. The second player in the market for loanable funds are the demanders. Demanders of loanable funds are borrowers. Notice the demand for loanable funds is downward sloping. This means there is an inverse relationship between the real interest rate and the quantity of loanable funds demanded. Borrowers pay the real interest rate, and therefore at higher rates of real interest, they seek fewer loans. At lower rates of real interest, borrowers seek more loans, since they have to pay less interest on them. There are three main borrowers of loanable funds. The first is business. Businesses borrow almost all money they use for capital expenditures, that's new machines, tools, or equipment, or construction. Even very profitable businesses tend to borrow rather than use their own money. The second borrower is our very own United States government. Since our government has been running massive budget deficits, meaning they spend way more than they collect in taxes, they are forced to borrow the difference in the market for loanable funds. And recently they've been borrowing over $1 trillion per year. The third group of borrowers are you and I. We go to the bank and seek loans for homes, cars, or college, making us the third group of borrowers. The interaction between savers and borrowers produces an equilibrium real interest rate, which we abbreviate as RIR equilibrium. We also have an equilibrium quantity of loanable funds. The equilibrium real interest rate is the amount paid to savers for their savings. It's the amount that borrowers must pay in order to take out loans. So when you go to the bank as a saver, you receive the real interest rate. When you go to the bank as a borrower, you pay the real interest rate. We'll see in the next video that whenever savers or borrowers change their behavior, the real interest rate changes.